to speak to LA now, I mean, where I'm at on them contending is that it is kind of matchup based. And I want to play a game with you very quickly here in terms of who do you trust in a matchup right now, the Lakers or X team? Okay. The Lakers are currently number 4 seed. They could get up to number 2 and end up playing probably one of the Clippers or Timberwolves. It feels like that's by far the most likely outcome. I guess it could be Houston in theory. I think Houston could fall there, but they're 3.5 up. It'd be pretty aggressive, especially given that I believe Houston has like a not crazy schedule left in the year. So let's start with this. LA against Golden State. Who do you trust?
They play one more time, so that matchup will ultimately determine, or not determine, but have a say in how I view this. But I trust the Lakers more.
I think I do too.
But like obviously Golden State it's a smaller sample size, so I'm open to changing that opinion. I just would look at LeBron has always killed the Warriors and like kind of revels in that. And I still don't. Maybe Jimmy gives that, like, I think Jimmy gives them a better chance offensively, obviously, but even defensively, like another body to throw at LeBron. But I just think their interior defense, like that's a death knell against a LeBron led team when he wants to go downhill and play. Like he just turns into a bully against the Warriors, and they might now be able to just outshoot the Lakers or outscore them with their firepower. But I kind of just, at least from like, I've covered a lot of Lakers Warriors the last few years. And it just always feels like, I mean, I believe the Lakers have an over 500 record against them over that stretch, but also just, it feels like LeBron always has a little extra something that's kind of anecdotal.
Yeah. Yeah. I think where I am at in that series is I think I like the Lakers, if only because I think that I trust the Luka LeBron combo a little bit more than I trust the Jimmy Steph combo. Mm-hmm. And then on top of it, like, I think I trust Austin a little bit more than I trust like the other guys as the third offensive option on Golden State. Now, like they do have multiple bodies that they can throw at LeBron and Luka. You're 100% right there. Like even Moses Moody, like is big enough and long enough to be able to, deal with that momentarily. I'm not sitting here saying he's going to be effective at it, but they are like almost, there are two teams that like have a really interesting matchup outside of Oklahoma City to me with the Lakers, and it's them and Denver. Like Denver can just do something on the interior that like the Lakers are just going to struggle to deal with. The Warriors, I feel like, especially off the bench, are just going to be a little bit smaller than the Lakers, because we talk about like the interior questions of the Lakers. They're just really fucking big across every other position. Like Austin Reeves is their nominal point guard defensively, and he's like 6'5", 6'6". Luka is 6'8". LeBron is 6'9". Dorian Finney-Smith is 6'7" with a 7-foot wingspan. Rui is 6'8" and as strong as a bear who can like deal with these big interior matchups. Like they are really
Vando
big.
Too. Vando fits in that 6'8", 6'9".
Great call there. Yeah, they're just very large across the perimeter in a way that like when Golden State goes to the bench, like it's Brandon Pajemski, it's Buddy Hield, it's some smaller dudes that I think some of the longer defenders on the Lakers can probably bother a little bit. So I think I would give the Lakers the edge there. Denver.
That's a tough one.
That's the tough
This is the toughest one for me because I have both the history of this matchup weighing on me and like my just view of Jokic and how great. I mean, I think he's the best player in the league, which I think most people agree with, but I also think he's the MVP, which is a whole separate conversation. So I have entering the last matchup, they'd won 13 of 14 against the Lakers. So I do have that recent history on my mind. At the same time, they just kicked the shit out of the Nuggets for 48 minutes. And I know it's one game, but I felt, and people focused on the defensive end and then limiting Jokic, which I think Denver will, we're not really going to see it because no Rui, no LeBron, but like Denver, I think in a 7-game series would make some adjustments that like, I don't think the Lakers are just going to hold Jokic to 7 field goal attempts a game the rest of the way. But I think the bigger thing for me from that matchup was just like to your point about the way Luka runs the offense, it's like Denver. I mean, Jokic is traditionally a drop big, and sometimes he can play up to touch or blitz a bit. But like, I just don't think they have the defensive personnel to guard both LeBron and Luka. You can't put Aaron Gordon on both guys. And Aaron Gordon is actually, I think, defended LeBron like reasonably well. And it's a lot of just LeBron tough shot making against him. But the Luka thing, I just think changes the equation here, where it's like Luka pick and rolls against Denver, I think really compromises their defense. And you saw in that game, Jackson Hayes got a bunch of rim runs. They got a bunch of open corner threes. And I just think now like it adds a different element to the offensive dynamic, where I think Denver will be better offensively moving forward against the Lakers. But I felt like the Lakers scored 123 points. They missed like 7 open threes in the first half. They easily could have dropped like 135, 140. And we're talking about like a really embarrassing loss. So I just felt like, again, I think it'll be closer moving forward. And ultimately it might come down to home court. But I did feel like the Lakers just eviscerated Denver defensively. And I don't really see how they're going to like get better on that end with just some of the limitations of like Luka was picking on Jokic, Brown, and Murray. Like he has 3 and even MPJ, like he has 4 targets out there that he is comfortable going at. And that's different than like how Anthony Davis attacked them. So I think that kind of shifts things offensively. Ultimately, I would like to see them play a couple more times before really giving you like my true opinion. But if I had to tentatively
we're not going to see it though.
We're not going to see it. But I think we'll see maybe a little bit of like how Denver like I think LA will probably try to do the same thing. They're just going to have limited personnel to execute that. I might. It's close to a coin flip for me. I'd probably go 51-49 Denver if they have home court. If the Lakers have home court, I would lean the Lakers. I just think it's hard to beat Denver with home. Like I don't know. That's a tough one for me. I'm going back and forth with it. If you asked me a week ago, I probably would have said LA. But with the injuries, with the way I think they're slipping in the standings, like, I mean, this could end up being like the 3-6 matchup, which would really be unfortunate. I would like to see it later, honestly. But, you know, I think Denver is going to have home court. So I slightly lean Denver as of right now.
I think that what that series comes down to, just in my brain, is it's actually kind of similar to the Dallas and OKC series from last year, where they got like crazy shooting from like PJ Washington, because Oklahoma City's goal defensively was not dissimilar kind of from what the Lakers are doing defensively right now, where they're kind of letting guys like, you know, Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon, like they're going to leave those guys open a little bit more than what we've seen previously. What we've seen from past iterations of the Lakers, let's go with. And if those guys make shots, you tip your cap to them and Denver goes on. If they don't make shots, I think the Lakers win, because I think that will be what the Lakers do defensively. They will put like Rui, Vando, LeBron even potentially on Jokic, have help, be it, you know, Hayes or Vando or whoever coming over to try and be there for Jokic. Jokic is going to have to make a high level kick out pass. He's going to have to make a great read. They're going to play off of Russ as well in this series. And if those guys make shots,
fun subplot. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a really fun subplot. I hadn't really thought about it until I just said that. But to me, that's what that series comes down to. And, you know, the way Christian Brown's shooting right now, it might be hard to leave him. He's really, really knocked down shots. But, you know, Aaron Gordon, Russ, like those are guys that I feel okay about leaving open. So I think I lean the Lakers, honestly. But it's one that genuinely could go either way, just depending. That's a real shooting variance series to me, because
I think the Lakers have their own shooting variance that's like, you know, how is Rui? Like Rui had a really good shooting year last year, that it was kind of like, I think him cementing himself as a good shooter. And then he really fell off in that Denver series in the first round. I think Gabe has been a streaky shooter. DFS has been a pretty good shooter, but more recently has been in a slump. So like, I think they have their own levels of variance. You are talking me back into the Lakers. Like I think the offensive end again is going to be better. And I have a lot of questions about how Denver guards them. But to me, the thing I'm most bummed about with the whole LeBron and Rui injuries is just like, I would like to see at least one more game of like the chess match. And how does Denver counter? Can they counter? If they were literally guarding, like, the second Jokic was around the 3-point arc, it was two guys sandwiching him at all times. And it was like, we will literally we will give you a layup if it really comes down to it, versus like letting Jokic touch the ball. And that, I mean, there are counters to that. And I'm interested to see how Denver tries to counter that. So that's something that to me is like the biggest matchup thing from like the LA side is like, yeah, if you could just take Jokic out, obviously it changes the dynamic of their offense, but can you do that for 48 minutes in 7 straight games? Or at least 4 wins, like, I don't know. So I go back and forth, but ultimately the other thing here is like Murray has played like an all-NBA player against the Lakers. And like, is he the same player in those series? Because he's just torched them. And if they get that level of play, obviously I think they have a real shot. If he's more kind of just his regular season self, I think the Lakers clearly have the two of the 3 best players in the series. And then, I think it just comes down to like Luka versus Jokic for the best player.
Yeah. And Jamal has figured some things out over his last 25 games. He's at 25 points per game, 6 assists versus 2 turnovers, 52, 42, 93. Like, he is basically back, it feels like, from the knee injury at this point. Mm-hmm. So it is like a real worry for them. Like, who guards him is a real worry to me for them. Mm-hmm. Almost like, again, maybe Vando at the point of attack, but like, you like him as a help defender typically. Maybe it's LeBron. I don't know. The next 2 teams, I think both of us are just going to take the Lakers over Houston and Memphis, but I do just want to like talk very, very quickly about those 2. With Houston, it's just like the way that the Lakers play defense, where they are going to dare these guys to shoot. Like, I just don't think Houston has the ability to shoot enough to keep them in the series, or has the ability to frankly like drive and consistently make the right decisions with kickouts in order to take advantage, really in order to defeat what the Lakers offense is marginally going to bring night in, night out consistently, in my opinion.
I agree. I think my big thing with Houston is just like 5 minutes left, 4-point game. What are they doing offensively? And in a playoff context, and I don't know that they know. And I just think it's like, kid, like, ultimately to me, a lot of those instances just come down to like, do you have the raw talent and skill to out execute your opponent when they know what you're running? They know, they know your counter to what they're running, and they have a counter to that. And it's like, it just kind of comes down to shot making and decision making, and sometimes just like who has the better player or the better couple players on the floor. Yeah. And I think that's where the Lakers, like, they walk into that. I think they walk into both series with the 2 best players on the floor. And that, to me, like, Denver, they can't say that. Oklahoma City, they can't say that. And that's where I think those 2 series are different. But against Memphis and Houston, can Ja or Şengün or Green, like, or Triple J, like, match LeBron or Luka for a night or 2? Like, yeah, but I don't think they could do that over the course of a 7-game series. So I think just the overwhelming top end talent for the Lakers, to say nothing of like the schematics or the strategy or whatever. I think I lean LA in both series, but especially the Houston one.
The reason for me is that I think Ja is like in a totally different class than the Houston guys, obviously, if he's healthy, and I'm sure you think that as well. But like, Memphis's half court offense has been better this season. It's a little bit above average. It's not like, it's been like a catastrophe when they've made the playoffs the last couple of years comparatively. But what worries me is that to be a great half court offense, they really have to have Ja Morant out there on the court. But this Lakers team, what it's great at, because they have these 2 massive ball handlers, is taking advantage of the smalls that are on the court. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're going to hammer Ja in as many ball screens as possible. And now with Luka there, Luka is really good at not always calling up like the Jackson Hayes to come and rim run, right? It's going to be, no, we're just going to go guard to guard. Like, Austin, come up and set a screen, and, we'll deal with it that way, right? Dorian, if they're trying to hide Ja on DFS, come on up, set a screen. We're going to make this work. We have great synergy from our time in Dallas. We're going to be really comfortable with our pick and pop game here. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's what makes it harder for them. Another guy that they really count on is Luke Kennard. Luke Kennard's a guy that, very small.
He's LeBron. I could say this in covering LeBron 5 years. He's LeBron's favorite target. He loves targeting Luke Kennard. If Luke Kennard is ever on the floor, even if it's like early second quarter, he's like, where's Luke Kennard's guy? Come screen for me.
It's 100% right. And like, why I think that is. Do you know why that is?
I don't.
So I have a theory on this. If you ever got LeBron like off the record, I'd be curious to know if he would answer this. He'll never answer this on the record. But so Luke Kennard, I think LeBron's like 4th or 5th all time in Ohio State history in scoring. Luke, I think, beat him like in his last game or something like that to get ahead of him all time in Ohio State like high school scoring history. And I think Luke is like, 2nd, 3rd, 4th or something all time. So I wonder if LeBron like takes it personally a little bit, like, and he just wants to go beat the guy that like got ahead of him on the Ohio State scoring list. Maybe I'm reading too much into that.
No, I think that's something LeBron would think.
I think so too. Like he cares, deeply about legacy. And I think that is something that like he would actually know and would like try and do that.
Now I want to ask him about it off the record.
Yeah, he'll never answer it on the record. Like truly, he's just not going to do that. Yeah, look, I just think that the Grizzlies have too many guys to attack. Like the Zach Edey experience, I'm really interested to see what it looks like in the playoffs. I think there's a world where if they were willing to throw entry passes into Edey, that he could really make life a little bit difficult in the post against guys like Jackson Hayes, or if the Lakers went smaller. But he's obviously going to hemorrhage points on the other end and drop. He's still just not quite there yet with his lines and using his length and everything and using his wingspan. Down the road, like we'll see, but I don't know that it's quite there yet. And if they go small with, Brandon Clark and Jaren, you're kind of playing into the Lakers' hands at that point, I think, with their big playmakers. So yeah, that to me is like, I think I would take both of them. Like I would take the Lakers over both them pretty easily. The last team's Oklahoma City here. And I am still taking Oklahoma City. They just have a lot of different defensive bodies that they can throw at Luka and LeBron. I will say that I think that if a team is going to beat Oklahoma City this year, it is this style of team that does have the multiple big ball handler kind of arrangement, because some of their defenders are a little bit smaller, or Shea, who isn't overly strong necessarily. The Celtics obviously are another example of this that I think could implement some of this and have some success. But I think that having like the multiple big ball handlers is probably the road. I just don't know if the Lakers defense will be able to hold up enough against the Oklahoma City offense.
I'm with you. I would pick OKC over the Lakers. And I think in general, and this has been a big discourse topic, I feel like over the last couple of weeks, but like to me, OKC is just disrespected. And I think people aren't taking seriously, like their profile is of a historic team. And I'm not necessarily saying that they are going to, win the championship or have like a historic postseason. But I also think people are treating them like the 60-win mid 2010s Atlanta Hawks. And it's just like, well, they're just going to be fodder for some team. And obviously that team ran into Cleveland. But like, I'm like, I think OKC is really good. Call me crazy, but I think they're a really good basketball team. So with to your point, like I think that's where I start to like entertain the Lakers winning the series. Is Dort has defended Luka well, and I would assume they'd put Lou Dort on Luka, but then I'm like, who guards LeBron? And like I also think he's guarded LeBron reasonably well despite the size difference.
It'd be J-Dub. It's
J-Dub, but it's just I think depends how engaged LeBron is, but it's the playoffs, so I'm going to assume he's going to be very engaged. And that's where I think that they kind of have some problems matching up with those two guys in particular. And, I guess the bigger Caruso that they have.
Yeah. The bigger issue for me there is that Jalen is their secondary ball handler. Like they need him more than anything to like be at full strength on offense. But if you're dealing with LeBron on the defensive end, honestly, like I think he might do as well as anybody can against LeBron. He's just big and long and physical in the way that like you can at least bother LeBron in some way, shape, or form. But LeBron is just going to wear you down and wear you down and wear you down over the course of a series if you have to do that at full strength throughout the course of 7 games. And that's where I would worry about Jalen's offensive efficiency tail spinning a little bit and that becoming more of a problem for the Thunder because they don't really have that secondary option beyond him as a playmaker. Whereas the Lakers do have Austin Reeves, who can be let's say that like for somehow J-Dub and LeBron cancel each other out, which I don't think would happen. I think LeBron would be slightly ahead. But if they do, let's say like you're then moving down to like the rung to the third scoring option, right? In terms of who's better. I mean, like Austin is ahead of Chet on offense. Like Chet's a better player than Austin. Don't get me wrong, but like on offense, particularly, I would rather have Austin Reeves than Chet Holmgren at this point. And
speaking of Chet, this brings me to the double big look, and like that's a whole other wrinkle to this all. Is like while they might not necessarily match up with the big ball handling wings, size for size necessarily. They can throw out this double big look with Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein that I think could potentially overwhelm the Lakers on the offensive end in terms of offensive rebounding, points in the paint. And Chet can obviously space the floor, so you can maintain floor spacing there. But then you also have two guys who like have some mobility to switch onto smaller players in a pinch, can obviously protect the rim and clean the glass defensively. So like, that's its own wrinkle. Cause I think, and this was a point I quickly wanted to make with the whole Golden State thing was like with Golden State, obviously they have mastered small ball and like they have drafted and signed and traded for guys who like fit within the small ball, ideology. But the Lakers have evolved into a small ball team. Like when we talk, Jackson Hayes is like more of a placeholder starter. He plays 20 to 24 minutes a night. The rest of the time they're going centerless basically. And it's Vando at the 5, it's DFS at the 5, it's Rui or LeBron at the 5. They have different options there. And because of their size and because of the two-way ability, like they just beat Golden State twice in the past like month plus, outsmalling them. Like it was not because like Jackson Hayes was like some overwhelming force. Right. It was like, we're going to go small and we're going to beat you going small. And I think that's ultimately going to be their identity and how they end up playing a lot of big minutes against a Denver and OKC, whoever. But then again, going back to OKC, it's like, it almost becomes like who can out strength who in terms of like the big versus small, and OKC can also go small, so they might just be able to beat the Lakers that way. But that to me is like the wrinkle here of there aren't many teams that can go double big with like two guys 6'11" plus, and OKC is one of them, and that might be like the antidote to the Lakers small ball, depending on obviously like how those guys can hold up in those matchups.